Right, Super Rugby Round 18 Saturday games. This is take two due to some technical difficulties, so apologies if this one's a wee bit briefer. Yeah, the Chiefs beat the Brumbies 24-19. Close game. Brumbies could have won it. Their first half performance, the Brumbies let them down, really. Their handling errors, forward passes, just trying to force things. I guess the pressure of that playoffs hunt still on, didn't aid to their performance. They were 17-0 down at halftime, but they really came back and dominated in that second half. They had all the possession and territory, scored most of the points, especially during a period where the Chiefs gave away a silly yellow card. That period was 14-0 to the Brumbies. A couple of errors in terms of intercept pass that Joe Powell threw cost them, along with a refereeing call towards the end, which didn't go their way for a knock-on. They had the better of the referee's whistle for most of the game. Penalty count was like 12-3. So that one call not going their way, I mean, it sucks for them that it was in the last minute, but if that was in the 5th minute, I don't think it's a talking point. It was just a knock-on call. Sometimes the referees get them wrong. I think realistically the Brumbies need to blame their first half performance for the reason they lost this game. They could have won it. That refereeing decision where it was a Chiefs knock-on is unfortunate, but yeah, for the most part, they needed a better first half performance. Still, plenty of encouraging signs for the Brumbies compared to how their first half of their season went. They have definitely shown improvement in the last few weeks, and if they can keep on this kind of trajectory going into next season, they could be back in the playoffs. With the results the way they went, there's actually still a chance for the Brumbies to make it, although it is a pretty slim one. The next one, the Blues, 42 points to 24. Believe it or not, if you look at the stats at the end of this game, the Blues, more possession, more territory, more run meters, more offloads, more clean breaks, more defenders beaten. But ultimately, the Canes, much more clinical. Set-piece play for the Canes here was unbelievable. They were running a fair bit in Rico Ioane's channel, to be fair. Laumape getting 4 tries, kind of indicative of that, but first phase ball second phase from lineouts and scrums, the Blues just really incapable of dealing with it. It was like 21 points to 10 at half time, and the Blues tackling percentage was in the low 70s, so it was pretty poor. At one point, stupidly, I thought the Blues had a chance because it was 28-24. The Chiefs must have been kind of getting a bit excited that this next week's game against the Hurricanes in Hamilton was going to be the deciding match for that 4th spot, but then the Hurricanes just blew the Blues away. A couple of tries to Laumape, and yeah, it's a bonus point win, so it makes them pretty much assured of that 4th spot. Blues still have much improvement to do. They've got the Crusaders next week, so hey, maybe an upset. Not likely. The next one, the Waratahs have blown the Sunwolves away 77 points to 25. Believe it or not, the first half was actually pretty close. It was 24-18. It was a really good game. A couple of great tries to Yamada. One of his was in the first half. It was a great try. Falau, a great try as well. Leach scored a good try. So there were plenty of good tries in the first half, and it was a real contest. But towards the end of the first half, a red card to Masarewa for a tip tackle. Later on, there was a Sunwolves guy who got a yellow card. So for a while, it was 15-13. It was Tanaka doing like a wrestling move, a DDT on Jake Gordon. So that wasn't a good look. But yeah, 12 tries to 3. The Waratahs absolutely dominating this. It's interesting that when a team gets a red card, sometimes they kind of bolster together and they do Superman effort thing where they tackle 2 guys at once or cover 2 guys on defense. Not the Sunwolves. They were just run ragged. And credit to the Waratahs for not taking their foot off the throat, because they're still, with this win, they jumped above the Lions for that 2nd spot. But there's still a chance, if they don't get a win next week, that they could finish on the same points as the Lions. So points differential could be important, and they've done themselves a massive boost, with that performance there. So, yeah, most points ever for the Waratahs. Looking good going into the finals. The only thing is, I was a bit worried they might be a bit underdone going into the finals if they play the Waratah, if they play the Sunwolves and thrash them like this, and then they play the Brumbies and then thrash them. But the Brumbies being so improved and still potentially having a chance for a playoff spot, they should give them a good test. So that'll give them a good run going into the finals. The next one, the Bulls have beaten the Jaguares 43 points to 34. Jaguares had a 19-0 lead and blew it. The Bulls came back into this one and led at halftime, 21 points to 19. So the Bulls just kept on fighting after just missing tackles early on. The Jaguares looked really slick. But yeah, credit to the Bulls for not giving up. The Jaguares did go back into the lead into the second half. They scored and it was 26 points to 24. But from there it was mostly the Bulls racking up some points. The Jaguares had a chance to get a bonus point towards the end if they'd kicked a conversion after a try on the 80th minute. Didn't go over. It was a fairly easy kick. So that was pretty costly for them. Other results going their way means it's not too important because the Jaguares are now guaranteed a playoff spot, but where they finish still remains to be seen. They could finish in 3rd, and 6th, and 7th, or in 8th, depending on how results go next week. Their tackling percentage in this game was 66%, which is just awful, and if they do that in the playoffs, they are going to get hammered. So good for them on getting a playoff spot. Good for the Bulls for giving their fans at Loftus one last game to cheer about. The Lions will certainly be thanking their rivals across the way. But yeah, not an ideal result for the Jaguares, but like I said, congratulations on them for getting their first ever playoff spot. The last game, the Sharks had a chance with all the other results pretty much going the way they needed to step into the playoffs. Unable to get it done, 27 points to 16. The Rebels will be thanking the Sharks for this one, the Stormers for this one, as will the Jaguares. Rob Dupree's boot got them in front early, but then the Stormers scored a try. I actually didn't see this game, only saw all the others, but only 15 minutes of highlights. So you guys will have to let me know how the game went overall. But yeah, Rob Dupree put them ahead. Stormers scored a try. Great setup work from Damon Dalende. Rob Dupree put them back in front with a couple of penalties, but then it was mostly Stormers tries. I mean, you can see the try count was 3-1. So Sharks not able to get it done. The possession and territory were more in the Stormers' favour for the first half, but the Sharks for the second. Defence was both pretty good in terms of their stats, 87 for the Stormers and 90% for the Sharks in terms of their tackling percentage. So yeah, both teams seemed to put on a pretty good display in that regard. Penalty count was pretty heavy for the Sharks, so that may be an area that cost them. Still, the Sharks had more run meters. Had a chance to win, put themselves into the playoffs, but not able to get it done. So, yeah, it's sends the Stormers fans off on a high, I guess. Robbie Fleck didn't look entirely happy with things at the end of the game, but I guess it's been a tough and long season for the Stormers. If the Bulls get any points next week, the Stormers will finish clear bottom for the South African Conference, which will be pretty disappointing. But yeah, we'll see how the Sharks go next week. They are by no means out of it. They can still get a playoff spot if they win against the Jaguares and other results go their way. But yeah, still lots to play for. What did you guys think of this round? Particular standout performers and standout results? Yeah, let me know your thoughts and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.